I think we're live. So,
Nice.
yeah, let's wait till chat confirms that we're live. I'll drop a link to this on the Twitter. I'll give you a link too. People love that I never edit these videos and just upload
Oh,
them
it's
raw.
awesome.
This is
Fuck
just
it.
like, you're going to see filler, guys. Sorry. Enjoy the filler. I'm not editing. I don't have time for that crap. Someone else
You're like,
can do
I'm
it.
paid, bitch.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
You're on my
So,
time.
live stream. I think you guys can see us. I'm tweeting a link to the show here. And we're going to be talking about EOS, a project that I don't know that much about, so it'll be a little bit of a learning experience for me. The parts I do know, they're not great, so it's going to be interesting. Let me drop this link. Live now. All right. See if anybody's in. Yeah, we're good. All
Nice.
right. So, Steve, tell me what you have to do with EOS.
My name is Steve Floyd. I am one part of EOS Tribe, a block producer candidate, which is the equivalency of a miner on the EOS network. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. My partner, Eugene Luskin, is based out of Salt Lake City, and we operate out of Wyoming to stay under their new framework of laws for utility tokens. Yeah, and we're just basically we're just a next gen protocol miners, basically with a governance layer, and this new experiment that is EOS. So
So, the Wyoming law, I read it, and it was interesting because to me it was advertised as a like safe harbor for utility tokens to not
right,
have some of the problems that a token that might be, I guess, deemed a security might have. Or
right.
do you remember any text from that law that you particularly liked, or is it a little
Not
bit
off the
rusty now?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I mean, to be quite honest, like keeping up with governance and all the issues within EOS just after the mainnet launch has been life consuming.
Right.
And that aspect, obviously, we delegated to our lawyers, and my partner has an MBA, and studied that in the tax structure, and we had to make like two decisions basically. Is like, okay, do we just do what everyone else is doing and create a Cayman fund and a trust and all this shell game, or like we're if you listen to the regulators, and I went to distributed markets in Chicago recently, and all the crypto like all the hedge funds from like 10 years ago are all turning into crypto asset management funds right now to create onboarding and offboarding ramps, and they're like most they're closest to the compliance in the SEC there, and they're trying to create a way to create a fiat ramp for these new utility tokens. So they're but what I think they're wanting to see, or what I'm reading, and I may be wrong on this, is they kind of want us to stand in the light of day.
Right.
They want us to be a transparent, flat operation. If you're not a board structure and you're not really a big company with millions of dollars, you really have no business like creating these big trusts and this big shell game. Just
Right.
be a flat organization to be transparent and run a stand up operation, like old school business shit. You know what I mean? And we kind of just like our gut instinct was, let's keep the innovation here. Let's not play this shell game like everyone's doing. Let's
How
just
much innovation is there in mining blocks? I mean,
I mean, the things that could possibly be built off of a new protocol with this, with the throughput that it has. It started out with like 2,000 TPS at launch, and with like multi-threading and some side chains, you could probably get up to like 10, 20,000, 100,000 with enough volume, and that's certainly more of like what you would want to build like a social network, or something with a lot more throughput. You certainly could build hundreds of crypto kitties.
wow, wow,
Yeah, like
really
thousands of
changed the
crypto.
world, man.
Yeah, change the world.
Really, woo.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And that's why I threw myself in this interview with you, is because
Yeah,
it's really like, honestly, there is a lot of bullshit, and
yeah.
that's something I talked about at my talk at Tulip. Was we as the whole crypto space, like fuck Bitcoin, fuck Ethereum, fuck all of it. Like if you're into the movement of this shit and you actually understand the guy in Uganda now has a governance layer to put his fucking title on a on chain and then use arbitration to kind of like subvert his government from trying to steal his property. There's a lot of
Right.
like use cases beyond us, Westerners who just are trying to, win Moon and win Lambo. Like, and that's the kind of a wake up call that it's not the regulator's job to make it easier on us. It's up to us to get our shit together. And
So,
so
like, from my perspective, a blockchain is an extremely expensive, very, very, very crappy database that sometimes you can't write to because the blocks are full, or sometimes you can't write to because you can't afford block space. So, someone else got in the block, but you didn't because you didn't pay enough. Or there's a reorganization and what you thought you wrote got unwritten. Or there's a chain split and now you have to decide which chain is the real chain. Good luck. You know,
I think those are UTXO models, though. I mean, those are slower protocols that were very AOL. And now we're seeing this next gen, these Gen 3 and Gen 4 protocols. And I mean, I agree, like 90%
that's
of
that's
bullshit.
hand waving. So
Okay.
it's easy to say that
Okay.
the newer thing is better because it's newer.
You're right. You're right.
But in fact, the Nakamoto's consensus breakthrough was a computer science breakthrough.
It
And
was.
previously, there was no way to create a consensus network that you could join or leave at will. Like, for instance, I'll explain something that sucks balls right now in your guys' system. So,
Please do.
if I wanted to not have, so I'll just finish the hand wavy part. You, the devil is in the details in this stuff. If you try to hand wave any particular small part of a blockchain project away and just say it's easy, you'll find out there's nothing easy. It's all extremely hard. So
Absolutely.
the details are super important. So what you have is this trade-off between trustlessness and immutability and throughput and
You
censorship
get two,
resistance.
but you don't get all three. It's a lot like, with like
Good,
client
cheap,
services.
fast.
Yeah, there you go.
There's
Same.
actually a there's actually a law regarding this property, the name of which the gentleman the law is named after, I can't remember right now. But distributed computing and redundancy has been an issue in computer science for as long as there's been computers, and they've figured out a lot of stuff. So in Bitcoin, if you try to perform a transaction and a bunch of the miners were cock blocking you and just blacklisted your address, your transaction would never go through because you would be blacklisted. So in Bitcoin, you have the option to turn on your own miner, mine your own block, include your own transaction, and route around their bullshit censorship. That property of being able to join the network at will, to influence it or to get your own block mined, is not something that will be available to an EOS participant because you guys aren't
Have
a
to be
trustless
voted in.
system.
Yeah.
You have
It
what
is a
10?
permission. It's a permission blockchain. There are 21 uh, producing nodes or block producers that actually sign transactions, can reverse transactions, that have control over the network, and that was by design. And what most people don't understand about it's like it's a completely different purpose, than the purists that are like, well, this isn't a fucking blockchain. This isn't immutability. This totally goes against. Well, what like major enterprise company is going to like try to build anything real or tangible on a system where code is law? And it's like, okay, your shit's gone. Sorry, 100 million's gone to the wind. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Well,
not
I
gonna fucking
mean,
happen, dude. Like, let's be real. As like real ass like business people that
it
are at the enterprise level, they're not gonna put up with that. So
well, it
having a
happens
governance
sometimes.
layer,
It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen
right?
sometimes. I
The
mean,
DAO hack. I mean, that was a massive fail for Ethereum, and we are not really getting the same in the community, the EOS community. We're not really getting like the same fairness. It's the first week the mainnet's launched. Like, let us stumble. Like, it is a cluster fail. There are people not getting along. Like it's just a human layer of it. But we reached 100% global consensus for a chain that launched by itself.
but that's worse,
That.
not better, is the problem. See,
Well, I mean,
so
that's your
like, why
perspective.
don't we? Well, no, it's literally a trade-off between speed and censorship resistance. So, if you guys can find consensus, then I can put a gun to your head and make you find a consensus that I want as the gun holder. And in Bitcoin, you can't get anything done because it's nearly impossible to change. So you can't fuck people over. You can't steal their money. You can't censor transactions. You can't
People get
do
their
those
money
things.
stolen all the time with Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and
but
never get
you
them.
know, they're getting it stolen in a part of the stack that has nothing to do with consensus. They're getting it stolen on a part outside the consensus protocol. That's like saying your bank got
No, I
hacked, but
wasn't.
really
Yeah,
you
yeah. I
like
wasn't. Yeah, I
wrote a
wasn't
check to a
saying.
scammer. Like so
I
like if
wasn't
you
trying to associate the two. I was just saying
so
that, like, if we are going to build a blockchain for business, that real businesses can recover their accounts. There's some governance layer. It's not just the wild wild west. There's
I,
some
I would go as
level
far
of
as say it's not a blockchain, right? Like so so
that's a fair
basically what
that's
you
a
guys
fair that's
yeah,
a
I
fair
mean what you
judgment.
guys have created is a bank
Not me,
account,
Dan Larimer created it. So
right? Well, Dan, if you're trying to pretend to be a blockchain, then Dan shouldn't matter at all. It should really just be the 21 block producers, right?
right.
So like I won't. I'm trying to help your project appear to be better by not invoking the founder, right?
Right.
But if I were trying to make your project look worse, I would say, oh look, Dan could probably say something, and then changes would happen, and so now Dan's a risk,
Let's
right?
be fair to Dan. I think Dan is largely misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? Like he's anti-mining, so it's not hard to see in the Bitcoin community, the Ethereum community, where mining rules,
What?
code is law. He's the enemy. He's always been the enemy.
How the, how
Why is he
how do you so explain this to me? How are you guys anti-mining? So you understand that like
It's
normal
perceived that way.
databases
He's
work,
not
right?
technically anti-mining. I mean, he actually there's tons of use cases. He came out with a post about proof of work, and now it has, tons of use cases. He completely respects that, and the community respects that. What I think is what I would like to see a dialogue of between the maximalists, the Ethereum fanboys, and the EOS people is that these are just different protocols to solve different problems. And let's get out of the fucking tribalism. And if you
Well,
want to
that's not
build
gonna. You're not getting out of the tribalism, dude. People have their life savings in this shit, so you can forget about that right now. That's not happening. If someone fills up their bag with certain coin, that coin's the best coin. Okay.
right, right.
And if some other coin is coming to eat that coin's lunch, that coin is horrible. So
That's
the
true.
tribalism is not going away. Like I was a great maximalist, and I'm still maximalish. I think most projects suck.
Maximalish.
Yeah, I coined the term maximalist because like okay, other coins have utility, like Monero for actually using it and not having people know how much money you've got. That's really useful.
Right. Right.
If you want to go on the darknet and not go to jail, Monero beats the shit out of Bitcoin. If if you need to do high throughput stuff, these systems that have fake security, fake blockchains, they're really fast. They have none of the things you want
You
from a
think
blockchain. They're
EPOS
not
is
immutable. You can't join them at will. You can like, what you basically have is like a fucking really weird, expensive version of a database where in order to write to it, you just require a couple extra people to sign. You basically have like a signatory authority on a bank account that requires extra signatures. And if you're going to have that anyway, and you're going to censor transactions anyway, which you guys have, then you don't need to fucking mine. Like
Let's go over that because
you don't
that's
need
something I
mining.
know about. And first of all, I'm just I'm a lowly supporting node. So I'm not actually in the top 21 myself.
Right.
I'm on the calls. I play a role. I help the community. I'm active, but we haven't been voted in with all the whales. We didn't get a lot of whale love. You know what I'm sayaying? So, I'm number
You
46
seem too
right
honest.
now.
You
Oh,
seem
just
too
being
honest and not political enough. Hard to get whale love.
there
Whale
you go.
love sounds pretty weird, by the way.
Yeah, it
Sounds
does.
like a violation of a law somewhere.
Something really foul there. But basically, like, as a lowly supporting node, I've witnessed some fuckery. That people have passed judgment. I don't disagree with some of those judgments. I think that a block producer being both the legislative and the executive branch at the same time before ECAF or the arbitration forum had been formed, they were in a scenario that the community needs to understand. ECAF isn't set up yet. That's the arbitration forum that's supposed to be like the people that come in and basically look at, did this guy get his shit stolen or not? And the block producers don't handle anything. They just are given a case. It's a governed blockchain. I'm just saying, like, it's there for a reason so people can recover funds. So large businesses, if they had $100 million hack for some reason, some dipshit at their office lost their keys, something happened.
Well, we have this already. Like that's what normal banks do. Like it sounds like you're
right, but
recreating a normal bank with
I
like,
mean, it's a trade, like you said, it's a trade-off because I would much rather have independent operators who have this movement in their heart and are just trying to serve like, the network and basically make sure that people building on it don't get screwed over. I think that that's a balance so that, the hackers are not going to really get
hackers.
anything out of this chain. You know what I'm saying? I think,
Oh, that's not true. They just have to steal less, and then they'll go under your threshold for public. Like, as soon
right,
as they steal enough that it's not worth the public relations battle for you, then you'll
right.
just let the fucking theft happen. Like, and we have an arbitration layer in the real world. It's called the courts, and we have transaction rollback. It's called a judgment, and we have all this shit already. So basically,
But think about the person over in Uganda, though. Remember,
no
that
one gives a
doesn't have what
fuck
we.
about that guy. Like, literally, no one gives a fuck about the guy in Uganda. They haven't given a fuck about that guy since they were born till today. They're not giving him money. Name the Ugandan
Well,
president. Go ahead.
you're
No
not going
one
to be very.
knows.
You're not
No
going to be
one
very politically
cares.
correct here, I guess. So
No, I'm being like real. Like, there's a very simple saying. If you want to know what people care about, see how they spend their money. What people spend their money on is what they care about. No one gives a fuck about Uganda because no one's spending any money to try and do shit there.
just
And
talking
by the
about the.
way, do
Yeah.
you think the Ugandan people want your weird white ass like influencing their elections with your fucking weird green money or whatever? Like,
No,
they're
no, no,
probably
no,
not even excited about that, right? Like,
no, no, no.
I mean,
What
half the
I'm saying is
time,
that there's a system that could expedite the some of the freedoms that we have in the system that we have to the underdeveloped
the
world
blockchain
or
does
the developing
absolutely
world.
nothing to solve anything political at all, ever. You cannot solve politics with technology. It's literally impossible.
I'm not
There's
talking
never
about
been.
politics. I'm just talking about being able to give someone a framework of things that we enjoy that they really don't have access to. You actually
They have
can
access to
put
that
your
shit.
title. You
They have
can put your
banks.
title on chain, and you can go through arbitration if your
You can
government's trying.
never
Now, it
put
doesn't
any
mean they won't
title on
steal
chain,
your
dude.
shit, but
So here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to crush scalability as entirely useless because none of these projects has any adoption at all. So doing any type of new project to get higher throughput is fucking stupid because no one needs higher throughput. Nobody needs higher throughput. The blocks are empty. Everyone's blocks are empty. Nobody needs higher throughput.
and
Nobody's
right
using
now
any of this shit.
that's a fair judgment. Current day, that's a fair judgment. I will not argue with you. You go look at most of the memos, and they're just people. They're just basically ETH fanboys and Cardano fanboys, like dumping on the chain and laughing their ass off. So
And
you
look,
know,
I mean, if no one uses this stuff for anything useful, there's one successful use case for cryptocurrency. That's launching other cryptocurrencies. And there's one successful use case for the other cryptocurrencies, storing value, kind of, and speculative roulette wheel shit. That's it, right? Now,
current day, you're right. Like that's
but
why
that's
I've
enough. I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
look, storing value in digital gold, that's enough. It's good. I mean, it's better than dApps, truthfully, from what I've seen, right? So, Ethereum has 100,000 devs who've made stuff no one wants to use. Now, I've got an Ethereum token coming out. I'm putting a Bitcoin UTXO on Ethereum. But the whole point of that token is just to store value
it's like you're
and to
putting
gain value.
AOL on Amazon.
It's not like so. I'll give you an example. So let's say I have how do I phrase this? So in the normal world, if you lock up your money, you get paid interest, and the interest that you get paid is in the same currency that you locked up usually. So if you go to your bank and you get a 1-year CD, which means certificate of deposit, they're going to give you a better interest rate than a savings account because you can't touch your money or there's a penalty for doing so. And right now, if you get a 1-year CD, you get 2.25% interest. If you lock up your money for an extra year, they give you a better annual interest rate. They give you 10% more interest. They give you 2.49% interest. They keep giving you more money annually the longer you lock up your funds. So we, as human beings, for thousands of years, have decided, okay, if you accept less money now and you lock it up, you can get more money later, and you're going to get paid in the same thing that you locked up. That's all my token does, right? So I did a lot of cool game theory to,
Trustless interest.
right, yeah. So instead of having to trust a counterparty to get interest, so like right now, if you wanted to get interest on your Bitcoin, you'd have two options. You could lend it to people to short on certain platforms, or you could lend it to people for real, but they usually go broke because they can't pay you back because it appreciated so far, it's easier for them to default than sell everything in their life to like pay back the coin that went up too high, right?
Right.
So if you have a smart contract that just pays back more than what was put in, and you can see it's locked up, the same thing that created the token locked the token pretty much, and then that's awesome. Like trustless interest is a very good idea.
It's a good concept. You know,
if all these things do is store value, I don't need throughput. You can do one transaction every 6 fucking months, and as long as the math worked out, fine, right? So I don't need throughput.
So you are aware of BitShares and Steemit, and if you do hate on those projects, and
I don't hate on them. I think Steemit's one of the few projects that got
that's enabled
success,
by graphene. That's enabled by graphene. I think all the Bitcoin maximalists or maximalish people out there need to understand that, you know, I mean, Brian Levine and the Bitcoin Foundation, a lot of top people are looking very closely at using graphene to fix a lot of problems in Bitcoin.
I have no idea what graphene is, dude. I mean, I know what real graphene is in the real world, but I don't know what the graphene you're talking about is.
Right. I'm not a hardcore backend developer. I'm more of a front end engineer, but basically the gist of it is it enables, it's the underlying technology that enables like the throughput. You know what I mean?
Dude, adding a token to Reddit, which is all Steemit is not fucking hard. I mean, you're just basically adding an extra database column that says karma. Also put a $sign in front of it. Now there's a $sign in front of karma. Not right,
but if you were waiting, have you seen Leroy? Like, have you ever used Leroy that was built on Ethereum? You go to post a fucking and this is a perfect example of like, grandma's not going to use that. This was like a Twitter built on Ethereum. It's called Leroy. Okay. And I remember going to it and I had to load MetaMask. And then I had to, I know right there, like that's where I lost you, but I had to load MetaMask. Then I got access to the thing. I signed up. And then when I got in, I had to pay gas fees to do everything, to like someone else's shit. I had to actually pay gas fees and these little microtransactions for every fucking thing I did, to post an image for everything. I spent like $10 to post a bunch of bullshit and just see what it did, you know, just to play with it and see if this was actually, wow, cool. Is this? No, it sucked. Really bad. And I had to wait like 30 minutes to see my image. Right. It was the worst experience ever. So that's what DPoS is about. That's what delegated proof of stake is about. That's what EOS is about, is facilitate, if you can imagine a Facebook or a Twitter on a blockchain. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons for transparency you would want to do that.
You can have transparency without a blockchain. You can have audit trail without a blockchain. You can have Merkle tree without a blockchain. Git and GitHub and consistent versioning systems have worked very well for decades. And they just store complex data in a directory structure that you can go through and look at the history. Like
Steam,
but I don't like Steam because it chose some fucked up platform to launch on. Putting a token on a social network would have worked fine in MySQL or Postgres or fucking pen and paper or Excel. That business model would have worked fine on any of those technology platforms. There's literally nearly no benefit to saying, oh well, you know.
I don't agree with that.
Well, tell me where the flaw would be there. Like what would happen if you replaced the back end of Steemit, whatever it is right now, with whatever bullshit Reddit runs on right now? What do you think would happen? Nothing. It would work fine. It would work fucking fine because no one's attacking it, because you don't need censorship resistance for your fucking shit posts. No one cares. They'll let you shit post nearly anything you want, right? Like maybe if you're posting
they'll pay you well for those shit posts if you post enough. So,
I don't know. Maybe. Like, so first point, we do not need scalability. We don't have any adoption to need the scalability. Okay.
That's coming though. This is the inflection point.
No, it's not.
It is, dude. I'm telling you, man, you're missing this.
Give me a metric. Give me a metric that's going up from December till now in the 6 months of your 2018.
We're definitely in a bear market cycle. So I would not.
Because it's not just the price, it's everything.
Bear market gains on the possibility of the next generation protocol. Like, it's completely different. You can't associate the two. You can't project your value on like the application. And
I'm just looking at a chart that says you wallet downloads, or if you want to see what Ethereum is doing, you go to dappradar.com and you look at what dApps.
Nothing. Well, go to Blocktivity and go look at the fact that like Steemit and BitShares are orders of magnitude more transactions. And I look at transactions, like how many how many fucking transactions does your chain have? How is it really being used?
You can't just look at that, dude. Because
I'm
if
not
it's
saying
free to
just that.
transact,
I'm
I'll
not
just run
saying
a
just
bot
that.
and make
I'm
infinite
not.
transactions. Like,
I'm not saying just that. I'm just saying that's one of the things people just look at market cap. But I mean, it's like how many transactions, how many dApps are being built on it? Are those dApps even popular? Do they have any users? There's a
but the
fundamentals.
vast majority of things is not supposed to go on a blockchain. It is
I don't
the
disagree with
absolute
it. Yeah.
wrong tool for the vast
You don't
majority
need a
of
fucking
things.
token for everything. I completely agree with that. There are
Nope.
legitimate settlement like situations and
No, but you
store
just take the
value.
part that you need trustlessness for, and you put that one little part, the smallest surface area, on the blockchain. Like you were
And that's,
talking about putting titles in the blockchain. I don't need to put titles in the blockchain. I just
I
need to
mean,
put
the
a
guy in
hash of a
Uganda
title on the
might need
blockchain.
to because he can prove it later, but we all know that according to you, no one gives a fuck about the guy from Uganda.
Well, no, like okay, so I'll explain to you the problem with the African thing. First off, they're broke, okay, and people like to get rich, and you can't get rich selling stuff to broke people. So, the problem that Africa has isn't that they have a problem moving their money around; it's that they have no fucking money. So they don't need a new way to move a dollar around at 1 cent cost instead of 2 cent. They need another fucking dollar, right? So the problem of Africa isn't a problem of moving their wealth around; it's a problem of having fucking wealth, right? It's a totally different issue. So I gave a talk on stage in Sweden to 1,000 or
Eric,
so people.
Eric and Ivan on tech. Eric from Sweden, Eric Bjork is actually a block producer. He just fell
Okay,
out of the rank just recently,
cool.
but he's a block producer actually on EOS as well.
I'm a
Great
poop
guy.
producer.
Eric kicks ass. Do what?
I produce poop. I eat
A
and I
poop
produce
producer.
poop. I'm so not proud of it. I mean, it's something we all do. Like I don't see like obfuscating and making a very complicated thing a get rich quick scheme around something that no one needs as like a great thing. I so first, we don't need scalability. You say one day we will. Well, we have
I
it.
think
It's
very
called
soon we
MySQL.
will.
It works
I said
great.
it
Facebook
over and
runs
over
it.
again. I mean, shoot for the moon, land on the mountain. It's definitely an inflection point right now. There's a lot of dApps and people who tried to build things but dealt with a lot of problems with scale on Ethereum. It was the number one complaint: the developer experience, the user experience, end user experience, and actually the overall throughput made it impossible for people to build these things.
Well,
So
yeah,
they're
and
looking
it's
for
still likely to
other
be that way. But like,
they're
okay,
looking for platforms that can actually handle the throughput, and people
we
end
have
users
those.
don't have to. No, you don't, because
Facebook has that
in a
platform.
trustless
Their shit runs
system.
real good.
Yeah, but it's fucking Cambridge Analytica and giving our data away
Right,
at
but that wasn't the
scale.
backend's problem. That wasn't a throughput problem. That was the governance problem. So like, okay,
I'm just
I'll just
saying,
concede the point to you.
people
Crypto's going
want
to the
something
moon.
that is
People
not owned
desperately love
by.
their crypto apps. Okay, if you say so. Like, I will concede the point to you. You win. We need
No, no,
throughput
no, no,
because
no, no.
millions of
That's
people are
not.
going to use apps
Hold on
soon.
a minute. Hold on a minute. If people were given a choice, and you could go get on, Facebook and Zuck's platform, and you're basically like, you're owned by them. You don't own any of your data. Ultimately, they do. They say you
I
do,
think
but
you
we
do in
both
the
know they
EU.
don't.
I think they passed a law that makes it so you own your data now with the GDPR,
Well,
but I'm
I
not an
mean,
expert on it.
technically, okay, but they still have the data from the past. They still have all that. It was given to them and these other trusted parties.
Right.
And the idea that is a problem that blockchain can legitimately solve, is it removes that intermediary, even on a governed chain, even on a permission chain. It's like, hey, I don't technically like know what your shit is or own it. You have your key, you own your account. And if you're not fucking up and you don't get your shit stolen, I mean, you're a lot better off here and you'll get paid for using this network. There's a little upside there. You know what I mean? Like it remains to be seen. I don't disagree with you that
So
until
it's
that
very.
happens, until
I
there's a
too could beat up on Facebook all day long. I hate those motherfuckers.
I do too. And I mean, I'm telling you, that's where it's coming from. Like
If
the rumor is it basically Dan's building a competitor to Facebook. Block One is scaling up right now, 50, 100 people. And I know the people in the community hate that, but in the Bitcoin community might hate that.
no,
But
like
that's
it's
the
like
rumor is, we'll see. It's a Steam it 2.0 is what it's being whispered about. But if in fact something comes out that could compete with the UI components and what we're used to on mainstream platforms, and there's a really cool incentive layer, certainly you could see some migration to that post.
if you want to make a Facebook competitor, like that's fine. I support it. I would be surprised if you can get 10 girls to sign up because it's got crypto in the name or whatever. And girls don't care about this shit at all, at all. Go on any YouTuber or any Twitter user's demographics tab in their analytics, and you ain't gonna see no girls.
10%, 20%.
Don't know why, but they also don't like a lot of other computery things, right? So
Well, let's not
good luck making a
put people
Facebook with
in a
only half
box.
the world's gender.
Let's be totally honest about that point. Part of why that is because this space is so toxic with chauvinistic,
No, come on.
D-bag culture that it's not very inviting. I mean, if we want diversity,
That is not
we want
why.
to bring people in, we have to make it a little more hospitable and like, you know, be a little normie, you know.
So is the reason that most Pornhub users are guys is because it's not inviting enough? No, we have different behaviors. Like how many girls buy swords? Nobody. Guys buy swords, right? I don't, but they sell the fucking things. There's a store that sells swords, the knife store. Like, go stand outside the knife store and just see how many girls walk in there and buy a cool knife. This shit's not happening, dude. Like, they just have different behavior. Like, it's
That's
okay.
a given, but I mean, we're trying to, like, what I'm trying to get to is that, you know, maybe it's not EOS, maybe it's another protocol in years to come, but there is.
No, you guys could be wildly successful. You could do all that shit, and it could be amazing, and it could be fabulous, but it'll have fuck all to do with the back end that you chose currently. Like, so I found the theorem for you, all right? This is what computer science arrived at for the whole trade-off for scalability, okay? It's called the CAP theorem. It's also named Brewer's theorem, and it states that it is impossible for a distributed data store, that means blockchain or anything else that stores data, to simultaneously provide more than two of the three things. It's fucking law. Shit's been around a long time. Look it up. It's called the CAP theorem. I'll slap a link for you people in the chat, and I'm going to give you the three things that you can choose two of. All right? Consistency. Every read receives the most recent write or an error. So you know what you're reading is like real. There's not some other version of it out there that's better than what you just read.
Oh, like IOTA?
Right, exactly.
You started on IOTA.
Yeah, exactly. Availability. Every request.
Get started on IOTA. I want to hear you rip IOTA to shreds more. I'm sure the whole audience does.
The point is that you can either have consistency, availability, or partition tolerance. And you have to choose two of three, and you can't have all three. And that's it. You guys with EOS chose more throughput with more censorship and more risk of bad people making the censorship happen. And that's fine. That's fine.
There's a risk
it's okay.
of civil attacks. There's a risk of civil attacks. The network has already voted in. A lot of whales have voted in themselves. And
well, apparently the whales hold so many votes. They hold like, I think 8 parties holds like 60 or 70% of all the coins, so that no one else's votes even matter. That's not actually
accurate. Those are exchanges that are not technically, like, it's a much more distributed than that's a total hit piece. Well, it's so funny how the narrative
I don't know.
Turns
if the exchange
into
holds the token, if the exchange holds the keys, then you have to beg the exchange to act on your behalf, and it is.
And they are voting for themselves. It appears that they are voting for themselves. So, but again, like, let's get some empirical data. Let's get out 30 to 60 days from the launch and really look at all the data first before we just completely shit on it.
Dude, but I'm from that. I'm not here to shit on EOS, by the way. Like, I barely know anything about the project, but what I know is it's just you traded the things that make a blockchain useful, which is the censorship resistance, ability for anyone to join.
You're trying to project, you know, a value system that's not relevant to the use case. It's
no, you could have done your whole thing with Oracle,
a database,
and just made it so you needed 10 signatures to write, and you'd be done.
And then
their database is way better than whatever you built.
All of that one central party, rather than that trust being.
No. Everybody runs their own server. Everybody's got their own Oracle server. Like, you can. Databases are really fucking smart. The whole world runs on them. This call. Our ability for us to use this call is allowed because of a database. A database said that we were allowed to make this call. Databases work really, 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 really well.
If you look at Oracle and then you look at Bitcoin, just look at
Oracle shits on everything.
EOS.
Like,
I'm just saying, just look at EOS is in the middle. It's like some trade-offs, certainly.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it.
You're then distributing that power instead of one central trusted party. It's 21, and really it's 121, because if one of those block producers censors your transaction and is caught doing that, they get voted out. So they can't do that. Part of the charter, part of the BP registration agreement is that they can't do that. They get thrown out and voted out immediately for that.
Hey, so if no one ever attacks, your security model will work fine. Anything works fine if there's no attacks. If no one ever tries to break in your house, every door lock works great, including no door lock. Matter of fact, no door lock's the best, right? The door stops sound better, you know, it has more structural rigidity. There's not like a hole missing in the wood. No door lock is really, really good if no one's trying to break in. So, okay, we've covered scalability. We've covered the trade-off between throughput and censorship resistance. You guys have censored transactions, right? That's happened on your network, right?
No, this is what you need to understand. There were a certain amount of tokens stolen that were confirmed.
So you stopped them from being stolen, right?
Well, hold on, let me finish. Basically, there were 1,300 tokens total, and some of us who were basically on those calls were under the impression that this is a lot of money. These were like 100 wallets that were affected. It ended up being a very small amount of tokens, but no, we didn't know. None of us knew. We just were going into the meeting going, what the fuck? This is one of the first meetings that we need to have on this and understand what's going on. And it was a ridiculously small, it was like 1,300 tokens. I suggested from the background, I was not active on that meeting. I was partially left out of the meeting. I caught the tail end of it, told the group, like, why in the hell did we not just eat that cost from the inflation and fucking avoid $100,000 worth of like bad press? You know what I'm saying?
It's probably more than that.
And literally, yeah, absolutely. And then basically, like,
didn't your price drop by like 40%?
Yeah, right. And we didn't get
after that.
We didn't get that back. If we didn't get that back from arbitration, oh well, we were made whole. ECAF wasn't in place, but we weren't overstepping our boundary. Now there's this narrative. I believe it was it was EOS New York, one of the top block producer candidates from the States, basically voted to basically stop, freeze the tokens. And if ECAF had not responded within 24 hours, they were going to unfreeze it and the hackers would have got their stuff. They were just, either way, they would have taken liability.
The hackers,
because hold on a minute, you need to understand this about the system, because you don't understand like how the governance model works. And it's a very specific, it's separated. The block producers can't do anything. We can't stop a transaction. We'll be thrown out if we do. Mm-hmm. Censorship is extremely, it's the worst possible thing.
So why didn't the guys that censored the hackers' funds get thrown out as per your security model?
Hold on, and then they filed an arbitration order against themselves because they did. ECAF, the arbitration forum wasn't in place yet. So if they had not actually, done anything, they were in a situation where they'd be liable for those tokens because ECAF wasn't in place yet. We just launched the chain. So that governing body, that other part of the, the legislative executive, it wasn't there. So they did the best they could with the situation. I still think that they just should have gone out of pocket and paid the token holders so they weren't liable, and then avoided any of that stuff. Right. That was the middle ground until ECAF came in, and then, hey, it's on the arbitration forum. We don't know. They came to us with this order.
What kind of software do your deciders use? Are these human deciders? Do you see what I'm saying? Like you took, so like the only thing a blockchain does that's good, it's slow as fuck, it has no throughput. The only thing it does is good is remove humans. That's the only good thing it does. You guys took the good thing and got rid of the humans, and then you shoved humans in it for throughput, and then you ended up with a shitty version of SQL. Just use fucking SQL.
That's your take, but to a lot of people that have watched the inefficiencies of these other protocols and the downsides of trying to build things on them, there's people that want to build a balance, that want some of that immutability, some of that benefit, but if it's a big business that gets ripped off,
I believe in trade-offs. It's okay, but just understand that you made it.
There are people who are looking for a middle that are like, hey, I don't want Oracle because if that database gets hacked or some trusted, but I don't want fucking.
You could have done Oracle. Listen, you could have done Oracle in a we need an M of N number of yeses to sign off on this shit. Like that is an option in database land. It works good. Matter of fact, I'll probably do a project. You know what? You heard this here first, everyone. I'm going to do a fucking project that just uses databases the way they're meant to be used and say that we have the highest throughput in the world because we use the cutting edge, best database tech that's been being built on for 40 years. And I'm just going to say, but with a token. It's going to be amazing, dude. I'm going to have the highest throughput you've ever fucking seen. Dude, my supercomputers that I built with NVMe drives, oh my God, the throughput, dude. Like 3.2 gigabytes a second per machine. Holy fuck. That's more than the EOS network.
Those databases can be manipulated, hacked, and changed, and it's not that simple.
No, you can't.
in EOS.
Making a little thing that says that you need M of N signers before you can write to a database. That's already a thing, dude. That's not hard or magic. It's
You're
built in.
comparing two things that are just not the same. I mean, that's a bad argument.
Let's go to Uganda. Okay? Land rights. When you have a piece of land next to a river, and the river swallows the fucking land, as sometimes they do, who's going to tell the database that happened? A human is going to tell the database. It's going to do analog to digital conversion. It's going to say, hey, this property that you owned that's on a blockchain doesn't actually exist anymore. Shit got swallowed by the river, bro. So sorry, your shit is lost. Whoever you trust to make that edit to fix the database to reflect the real world again, that's the trusted party. You can skip all the database bullshit, all the blockchain bullshit, and just let that guy host the whole thing because you obviously already trust him. So anytime...
But that's one guy. So if you have 100,
it can be M of N signatures again.
And they have no vested interest. They are not part of each other's operation, and their main directive is to make sure that that chain stays up.
You can make it 10 of 20,000 signers. You could make it as many M of N as you wish. It's really not hard code, right?
It's just not. You're arguing the centrist, like the same maximalist view.
No, I'm saying that you can't
arguments that aren't relevant to why people are using this and looking to use it. There's a whole like
no. This has nothing to do with EOS. Nothing to do with EOS. It's saying that every single database or system or blockchain that has high throughput or low throughput fails when it has to have an oracle that you're trusting. If you trust a guy to let the database know when the house got destroyed, that same guy could just use any system he wants. And if you don't trust that guy, then you can distribute and federate your trust in him across M of N signers in any platform you wish. You can do M of N signers in fucking PHP. Like, you just write the code, right? Okay. If someone requests change, wait for M of N signers. Loop. Okay, signer 1 appeared. Okay, now waiting for one less. Okay, signer 2 appeared. Now waiting for one less. Okay, we met the minimum number of signers. Fine. This shit gets written. You can do that in any software you could possibly dream, right? But it doesn't matter because it's just so much easier to skip all that stupid shit and just trust the guy and do what we do in the real world, which is if that guy fucking lied, then we screw him up in court. That's the most efficient way. Okay, instead of needing 20,000 people to go and verify the house got swallowed.
Yeah, then there's a trade-off though, but in different use cases for a middle, so, and I think that when you're dealing with like
blockchains have been around for 10 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have no adoption. And you've been able to do proof of shit on the blockchain by hashing an image of a deed.
HTTP was invented, and it was about the comparable amount of time before people had started to really adopt it in the mainstream. So that's all subjective. New protocols get introduced in. Like I said at the beginning of our talk, people lose their shit. They think it's world changing. It bumps up the world about 30%, but it's just a new technology. It's just a tool. You know what I mean? Like
let me handle Uganda part 2.
You can use it to build, homes. You can use it to break heads, and it's a middle ground of those two debates.
You mentioned two things for Uganda. You mentioned deeds, and I think you wanted to mention money, moving money.
I mean, that's certainly something that you could do in EOS.
I've handled deeds that someone has to do the analog to digital conversion, and you either trust that guy or don't. Blockchain doesn't help. It doesn't help that guy do his job right. And he might be wrong. He might have got the wrong address. That happens with a SWAT team. SWAT team blows up, the wrong people because they got the wrong address. So let's talk about moving money. The biggest cost of remittances is not updating the Excel spreadsheet to say, hey, this lady gave us $100, give that guy $100. That's not the cost. They don't have any cost there. The cost is for the rep at the end talking to that person and working with them at the cash register instead of whatever else they could have been doing, selling sandwiches, selling drinks. That's the cost. And blockchain does, absolutely nothing to help there. But it does make everything worse, right? So, hey, we're going to send your money overseas. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your money in, and then we're going to exchange it for a currency people actually denominate shit in, like dollars. Or you know what? Maybe we'll just keep it in the blockchain. Fine. So we're just going to take your money you gave us, and we're going to buy Bitcoin with it. Okay, then we're going to wait for some confirmations. Because just because people send us the Bitcoin doesn't mean we really have it, because we don't do zero confirmation, because then we don't get any security. So we need to wait a couple confirmations, let's say 1 or 2. But sometimes those take an hour. Like sometimes one confirmation takes 1 hour, not 10 minutes, because the Poisson distribution, like, oh, fuck. So every once in a while, even if I only wait for one confirmation, when I accept your money to buy Bitcoin to send it somewhere else so that they can start waiting for a confirmation too, sometimes that takes an hour. Get fucked. That's a terrible system. That's a terrible, horrible system. But if you want trustlessness and you want no third parties and you want no one voting on whether your money is really yours or not, EOS, then that's what you have to have. You have to have the suck. You can't route around the suck. You have to wait. And it sucks.
I still think that there's a middle ground to that. You know what I mean? Certainly.
Well, sure. Like if you trust the people that are voting, just use the bank.
And you know,
why not use a bank? Why not use dollars? You still like. It sounds like it. Look, it sounds like I would have more legal recourse if the bank stole my money than if your crew stole my money, right? So if 11 block producers
true.
was like, yo, Richard's been shit talking our project, lock his funds. Who am I going to call? Ghostbusters, like? But I could go to fucking... Well, I could sue you because you're American.
The Ghostbusters...
I could sue your ass because you didn't do the shell game. You actually have a real corp in Wyoming. Like, I could sue that company. I think I do know why they do the shell game. Because, So, anyway, my point is, you don't need throughput. No one does. We don't have any adoption. Hopefully it comes one day. Yay. I'm a personality in the space. My well-being in the world will do exponentially better as long as crypto does better, because that's what I'm known for, right? So I would love to see crypto take over the world. That would be fabulous for me and my net worth, right? But I'm not going to bullshit and say that it's all roses currently. It's not, right? So Oracle problem for digital ledger technology, and you don't have to buy any currency to use DLT. So even if it was successful, even if it did help people in countries where it's hard to keep track of deeds, it doesn't add any liquidity or economic mass, because you can do all that trustless bullshit with none of the token. You don't need much token to do it.
I don't disagree. I asked to debate this, you know, because the EOS community has to face a lot of these criticisms, and you know, there are solid debates that you present, and there are other sides to that debate. You know what I mean? And that's that middle ground. You know what I mean? And
so I don't mind you guys having a security trade-off. I think it's fine.
Be valuable to you. You know what I mean?
I think you guys can have higher throughput for slightly more trust issues. That's fine. Like I don't mind it. Trade-offs are cool as long as you know what they are, right?
Absolutely.
So we had governance, we had oracles, we had throughput. What else do we got going on? I don't want to bring up, I could bring up all the potential legal issues, but I won't.
No, go into it. Absolutely. That's the kind of stuff I'm trying to vet out and hear the harshest criticisms from that camp. So our community can take a close look at that. So,
all right, I'm launching a token, dude. I don't want to go into the potential, this might suck horror show that is around people that launch tokens, right? So it is not without risk, right? So for my own greedy, jealous reasons, I don't want to go into the suck fest of potential horrors that could happen to token people, you know? Hasn't happened yet, but yeah, I'm just going to avoid that shit fest of unhappiness. As a community of libertarians, we don't like to do fantasy porn of what the government could do mean to you. It just feels dirty. So we'll skip the
how bad the government could
fuck you up, man. I mean, they've got laws that are real vague, and you know, look at the local Bitcoins guys. Sometimes those guys go to jail.
At Tulip conference, Thomas Cox, who works for Block One, said that the people on the network taking the biggest risk are the block producers. They are the ones that will go to jail. He openly said that at the conference, and all the block producers were looking at each other like, wow, that's like the dude. So there's another side to, there's the idealism and the hype and all the people that are in the love fest. And then there's the other side of that debate, the maximalists. And
you know what we could do? I'm going to ask my usually entirely useless chat in general. You guys suck so bad. But this is your chance to unsuck, okay? This is your chance to ask a smart question for the first time in your lives, chat. Are you ready? There's like a 30-second delay, so I'm going to give them 30 seconds to write a good question since we've already covered oracles, scalability, adoption, some risk stuff. Let's see what chat has to ask her. You've got 15 more seconds, chat. This is like such an exercise in futility, dude. Yeah, I don't see anything good, dude. Maybe the
EOS and BCH are gonna save African amazing.
Yeah, dude,
Africa.
Totally.
Good Lord, these people can't spell.
Okay, here we go. They're responding now. Here we go.
As a regular database.
I'm scrolling up here. Richard, is a regular database the end-all be-all? Then why is every top 500 on Earth experimenting with blockchains? For the same reason they experimented with VR and then gave up on it. For the same reason they experimented with 3D TV and then gave up on it. For the same reason they...
early technology, this is what pisses me off. Like, we come from a similar industry. And for a technologist yourself, you are like a nihilist about this shit. Like,
it'll be good one day, but now it sucks.
I know, but like I
Have you used
appreciate
VR?
that realism because this space needs some fucking realism. That's part of why I came on the show.
Dude, VR is like looking through a screen door in every direction. You're like, screen door. Screen door. Oh, my face is sweating now. There's something heavy on my head. This is excellent, you know? Like, my phone's ringing, but I can't see my phone, so let me fucking... Oh, this is so fabulous. Dude, I wish VR could be good, dude.
There's nothing in VR that you've seen that is even remotely like at the level that you think it should be.
Right. Like I just want it to look like my normal screen. Like we need much higher resolution. Like, so, I mean, here's my argument against VR. You've got 4K, which looks good. And then you took that screen and you spread it across the human's whole field of view because you had to go cheap on the display tech. And now you have what used to be really good suckified to wrap around you. And so now you've got suck in more places instead of good in less places. Right. The good is better. Like 4K beat the fuck out of 3D. Like we had 3D 1080p, and then we had 4K. You're just bitter
about ETH. They just said you're just bitter about ETH.
Dude, I'm watching a token on ETH. How bitter am I? Like that's what my current focus is. Other than making some videos for you guys for fun, my token, Bitcoin Hex, is what I care about, and it's on ETH. And a lot of people said I should do it on EOS. And maybe one day, maybe I'll airdrop Bitcoin Hex holders on EOS for fun. Maybe.
Right. I mean, I like the, I like the concept of trustless.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you guys get. It's what you get paid for as a block producer. You get the same shit. You get inflation for locking up your funds, right? I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. I'm just doing it for everybody, not just the block producers.
You stake the tokens are the bandwidth. You stake your tokens. You can vote for different things. There's eventually going to be a worker proposal system that's in the works, and you can like basically vote for different things. The thing that's very interesting about EOS is that if you have a disagreement, like with Roger and Bitcoin, in all these forks, and some people say those forks are a good thing, because they add to the overall value. Some people say it's a bad thing and it dilutes the value. I really don't give a shit. What I think is interesting in EOS is that you can change that shit out with a smart contract. I mean, literally, you can update the core code and not have to fork anything. So that's the purpose of the governance.
You could always just have done that by building the new thing and airdropping the old people, which is what you guys did in the first place. Like you were an ERC20 token. Yeah. You were an Ethereum ERC20 token, which is where the vast majority of your market cap came from,
Absolutely.
4 billion or whatever the fuck. And then you just airdrop them the new thing. You could always do that. Like if everything just gets all fucked up, you're like, all right, everybody, we fucked everything up. Where, like, for instance, there was a smart contract that made public the function to disable transfers by mistake. It was the Icon project, or Icon X or whatever, or Icon, right. I can't remember, ICX something. And they had to airdrop, $800 million of tokens to new people on a new smart contract that didn't have that problem. But it is neat that functionality exists. That
and that's something that you just hit on something that I really believe. Like the ICO model is dead. It's fucking regulations coming. It's setting. The sun is setting on that kind of era in that little window. And airdrops are the new model. And, it's interesting that you could basically airdrop a percentage of your supply, 60, 70%, 40%, whatever amount you want to give, keep the rest, give those out to exchanges, provide some liquidity, and then basically cash out your percentage over time. And then even keep some back in a system like EOS. You could actually stake on the network or a particular DApp and earn inflation for maybe a DApp that pays you for your stake. Similar to Steem, it's a whale's game on Steem. And if you have a lot of stake, you could go, put 20, 40, 100 grand in a wallet, upvote yourself, and you're paid for that day. The little minnow isn't, but if you're a whale on that network, it is very beneficial to throw your weight around. And I think that you haven't played with the technology enough. That's my only criticism. I think you have valid points. You don't know the system, but you know fundamentals.
Well, I just assume,
I value your opinion and came on this show.
I could default to everything being like, it's high throughoood, it works great.
Oh, you're right.
And I could be like, okay, like cool.
I'm not. Yeah, but
I'll give you every point. Like, it's a high throughput thing that works, and it's like, okay, great. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
If you're trying to build scalable applications,
sure,
you have to like add that onto it and say, okay, you could use a database, but actually this little mix of distributing that power of trustless parties and making a little, halfway between this trusted and trustless system. So it's not in one person's hand, one specific organization. It's in maybe 20, 30, however many block producing nodes. There's a talk right now to expand the number of nodes to kind of further secure the network from Sybil attacks and help with helping out these guys, because there's a situation right now where under the top 49, these guys who have supporting nodes aren't making anything. So it'd be like running a mining rig and you're not making shit. At some point they're going to pack up and go home. So these guys are going to leave, and these are seriously, Richard, like smart guys, fucking guys who are developers and software engineers and computer science guys. And these are fucking sharp engineers, dude. It would really impress you. Be like, holy shit, this is where you guys all are. I think
all the devs are still on Ethereum. Maybe one day you'll have them all or whatever.
Maybe the weaponized, autism versions of that, yes, but that's not like.
Well, I mean, look, if your thing works, I can always just fork it and then make my own 21 nodes of my homies, which I like and trust, dudes I grew up with, like, yo, dog, you're number 3 and you're number 7, and this girl that I met on Wednesday, she seems super cool and she's real skilled and such, so we'll give her number 8. Like, fine. Like, it doesn't. The problem with blockchains isn't the throughput right now. It's that the world.
Again, you can't build a Facebook or a Twitter on fucking Ethereum or these other protocols.
You just have to lose the trustlessness. I mean, as long as you're willing to lose the trustlessness. Putting
it through Lightning Network or some intermediary.
Sure.
I mean, that's.
But okay. You don't even have to.
Well, then
use
you've totally lost the decentralization.
What? You lost the decentralization, you say? 21 guy, 21 fucking.
Okay, all right, but hey, that's I would
like, hold on. How come you're okay with you losing the decentralization when it goes down to 21 guys, right? But what if I made it 2.1 guys or 8 guys or 1 guy? Like, what's wrong with 1 guy? Why is 21 that much better than 1?
It just
spreads
that responsibility out. You put there's any kind of lack of transparency, there's always corruption at some point. It's just part of human history. I mean,
I think 3 might be enough. If you believe in that checks and balances shit, and you believe executive, legislative, judicial, and that works for you, then maybe 3 is the right number.
Let me get this straight. None of the serious people who are dedicating a lot of time to this make excuses. It is not a perfect system. We are in our early infancy of making this work. And we would just allow that ask that the larger crypto community just allow us the time to mature and get this thing together. If we're a year and a half, 2 years out like Ethereum and we're losing money, people are getting ripped off, it's a shit show. Okay.
I have a question for you.
We launched like 2 weeks ago. Like, give us,
Don't you guys have a constitution that says you lose your coins if you don't use them? If you hodl, you lose your money?
Yes, it's basically a squatting. It's a squatting, in the Constitution that basically states that if you've gone on for 3 years of inactivity, then arbitration could come and basically take your tokens and distribute them. That is actually I understand.
Okay, let me tell you how funny that is. Sometimes people go to jail, right?
Well, tokens are
and they didn't want to go to jail and shit.
Right.
And sometimes they go for longer than 3 years. So if I use EOS and I fuck up and punch some guy too hard and his little egghead shell cracks and he dies or whatever, and I do like a manslaughter gig, then I guess I lose all my EOS money too. Fuck, that's a bad deal.
There
I
are
hope they don't
tools.
like. I hope when I try and tell my girl the code over the phone that the guy doesn't know what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, dog,
Hold on.
that's
There is.
terrible. Oh my god, you
Let
just
me be
like
clear. Let me be clear. There is tooling. There is tooling that will automatically reassert their vote, and you could leave it in a wallet, and it will, or adapt even, and there will be tooling soon or eventually that will just re-ping or reassert that vote and keep that stake alive, so that doesn't happen. So those
what if
arguments, I don't
you
think.
and then invent the next tooling which detects the automated tooling and then refucks it again. You know what I'm
I
saying? So
mean,
if you're gonna
I'm,
automated unfuck
I'm
people
not.
because you have a bad constitution,
Nobody,
then you can
nobody in
automated
this
refuck them.
nobody in this system, in the ecosystem of EOS is making excuses for such a new technology. We all recognize that there are some trade-offs, and there's things that aren't ideal. There's things that are really awesome about it. You have to understand that tokens are the bandwidth. That's your stake that provides the CPU. Think of EOS as an Amazon, AWS for the blockchain. So if
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
get it.
want,
You
if
you
you if
have higher
censorship.
throughput with trust issues. You have to trust 21 people. I understand. You
Okay,
have
well
higher
then you have to
throughput
just trust
and you have to
Amazon,
trust
who's
21
running.
people.
You have to trust Amazon, who's running classifiers on all your content, and basically like
I don't
reporting
like AWS.
everything that you do.
I
You
don't like
what?
any cloud. I don't like other people's computers. I like my computers. I don't
Right.
like any cloud anything. Like it's just someone
You're
else's
all you're
computer.
you're
I
all
know how to
bare,
buy
bare
hardware.
metal.
Why do
You're
I need
all
to buy
bare.
their fucking hardware? Like
You're
I don't
all
like
bare metal. You don't use
yeah.
any cloud
No,
stuff.
I don't use any cloud anything at all. I do
I
my own
respect that.
DNS. I,
We are
I
too.
host my own server. I don't have to worry about someone like Rowhammer attacking my RAM and pulling keys out of it, or the numerous.
This has to be faced though. Like the message I'm trying to send and why I came on here as a block producer is that, we as a community have to face these criticisms, and
So
we
give me
we
more
need.
criticisms. I mean, I just at the last moment thought of the most damning criticism of your project, which is just steal everyone's money after 3 years. That's a big deal. What other shit are you guys hearing? Because that popped into my head. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. What other things are you hearing that I could tell you about?
that
Like,
that can be changed through referendum. I mean, there's a referendum contract where you could, basically
if you
go
guys were
and
silly
change
enough to put that in there in the first place, you're probably silly enough to never fix it. I mean, that's some
that's a
really next level silly, dude. Like, you can't just steal people's money for any reason whatsoever, particularly timing. Now, hold on. Funny part. My token, which is launching, if you don't claim within 50 weeks, you lose it all. So, while I make fun of your project for stealing people's money for inactivity, if you don't claim your token within 50 weeks, you literally get nothing in
but
my
it's
project.
bandwidth on
So,
the network. Like you could certainly see from a system, you could certainly see from a system design perspective. Like as a hodler, no, that's at first glance sounds like it sucks, but as actual bandwidth on the network, you're consuming resources that can never be used. So if they had a bunch of all the wallets in Bitcoin that have been lost forever, that actually kind of like makes sense if you're using this as an AWS to scale something and
no,
have that
chat.
trade-off. If you're strictly looking for a purist view, or you just want some centralized party, then go those directions. EOS is a middle ground.
So,
And we
chat
make no
said something
excuses
smart.
as a community about that. You talk to anybody, they would say the same thing. We make no excuses. We're not, come over here, talk to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're much more approachable. We're the people, the engineers, the creatives, the designers,
I
the
met a lot of
marketers.
EOS guys. I mean, had a nice after party in Sweden. EOS guys paid for it. Drinks were good.
Absolutely.
Was happy to
Right.
attend.
There was a lot of
Everyone
women
seemed
at the
nice.
conference. There's a lot of women at the conference. I heard.
What
I
the
got
fuck
word
is
that
that? What is this a fucking?
everybody.
What kind? What conference doesn't have women in it? I
No,
mean,
you made a comment that was like, "This is fucking weird." Like someone.
yeah, there was
said
too
that,
many.
like,
There was too many. Yeah.
like there's
There,
too
there
many
was
women.
so when I go to a conference, if there's girls there, I want them to be there for the conference. I
Right.
don't want them to be there as like arm candy or like
Yeah, I agree with
paid
that.
help. It's creepy to me. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, if I have a booth, I am going to have booth girls. We may have a beach theme. Hate it all you like. I know what fun looks like. I will be that asshole. But if you're not doing a beach themed booth and you're just kind of like fucking lounging around weirdly, it's just weird, dude. Um, So I don't know other stuff to shit talk the EOS project about. I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. You just have higher throughput, and then 21 dudes have like superpowers. And then if those dudes are cool, everything's
The
fine.
arbitration forum, let's be clear, the arbitration forum does. ECAF was not in place.
I don't know what that means. So like how many
not,
dudes are in that thing? Like how many dudes are in the arbitration thing?
It's a separate organization, and basically you can choose a list from a list of arbitrators.
Right, but it comes down to human dudes at some point, and you can measure them, and they have a quantity.
I mean, you know, it's a human chain. It's okay. Meant to have some, you know, some level of heart and a human layer.
Should we go through your constitution to see if there's any other wacky shit in there? How long is it?
Go ahead and pull it up. I'll send you a link. So
you're racing Google. I think you might win. Oh no, I found it. I got it. It's in the GitHub.
Yep.
I bet I look at this shit and it sucks balls. All right, chat. I'm gonna paste this link.
Okay. No initiation of violence. Article 1.
So would that be like, would a hacker consider stealing his money violence?
Members shall not initiate violence or the threat of violence against another member. So like, you know, you're actually going to hurt someone, you know, you're going to come after them. You're going to like, you know, get them, you're going to, you know, something to that effect. And that's left up for debate. There's a lot of people in the community that want to change some of the Constitution, that want to make things a few areas that leave some things open-ended, particularly, you know.
I like that you guys left this in GitHub so you can just change it whenever it's convenient. That's pretty cool. That's the best kind of Constitution, the one that you can change anytime you need to.
That's a good point. That's fair. Hey, that's fair. You know what I mean? But you would be able to see the versioning and did that. So.
If you're a smart Git user, sure, yeah.
Right.
All right, we'll continue. I mean, this is a good idea. This is a short Constitution, so this isn't going to take that long.
No perjury. Members shall not be liable for losses caused by false or misleading attestations and shall forfeit and any profit gained thereby. So, you know, don't lie. You know what I mean? Don't lie. They're just very simple rules.
That one was in the Bible. Some of these are from the Bible. I recognize the thou shalt not bear false witness one.
Thomas Cox, who I tried to get to come on to help me flank on some of the more technical governance questions, was asleep, so I would have liked to have him jump on with me, and that would have been much more.
Any content's better than no content, dude. Like, what's better off we just did it.
No, I'm just saying in general. You know, I agree with some of the skepticism on the other side in terms of like how we look, you know, to the purists, and I'm trying to open a dialogue from those.
Listen, hold on. It's not.
There
purism,
are purists
okay?
Like crypto people that are just like it has to be like Bitcoin. If it's not
and
like
Bitcoin, and they use Twitter. This is the one smart thing that chat said. Richard actually likes centralized systems because he likes Twitter and YouTube. Yep. I do like Twitter and YouTube.
They hate on you, dude. They're like worst hater. They're hating on you more than me.
Oh, dude.
Chat's hilarious, dog. I've never been on a show where they're like hating on you more.
Dude, go on the Ivan on Tech interview when I freaked out at 8,500. You know, $2,000 higher than here, guys. Remember when I freaked out then and said it was a bear market? Remember that? You guys made me eat shit for what, a month or two until you figured out, that Richard was right. It is a bear market. You should have read the chat, dude.
Dude, Jesus Christ.
There's some good screen caps from this interview that we've done. Like me flipping off the camera. That's going to be a Rogerverse sample right there. There was one I was rolling my eyes pretty good earlier. We're going to get some good GIFs out of this thing.
Nice.
So like it's not maximalism to believe in censorship resistance, and like understanding that you guys have a censorship resistance model, which means these 21 guys like it or they change it. That's fine. It's fine. It's okay. You can do that. Maybe it's better than AWS's one model, right?
It's projected that like it will be a third to a fifth, less than what you would spend on those platforms to build a decentralized application. It'll have the throughput to build social dApps.
No.
That's a gift.
You're not going to be cheaper.
Have your just head spin.
You're never going to be cheaper, dude. Okay, let me explain cheap to you. Cheap is, right? There's only three things people give a fuck about: storage, processing, or that's it. It's just storage and processing. Some specialized applications may require a certain type of storage in the form of RAM, which is really expensive. But unless you're doing CFD or graph theory stuff, you don't really need that much vertices loaded into memory, basically. So you really just need storage and processing power, okay? Storage gets sold by hard drive manufacturers that are made in Thailand. If there's a flood in Thailand, all the hard drive manufacturers are fucked. So the cost of storage equals the cost of getting hard drives out of Thailand from Western Digital, or actually Hitachi got bought by Western Digital, their storage thing. HGST got bought by WD. So there's maybe only like, I think Seagate might still have their own manufacturing. So Western Digital, Seagate, not even sure a fourth one. I think Maxtor might have got bought too. Anyway, that's where storage costs come from, okay? Every single thing you add, you buy the drive, and if you put it in a fancy server, it costs more. And if your server has backup power, it costs more. And if your server is cooled, it costs more. And if your server is in a country where labor's expensive, it costs more. But your base price for the fucking hard drive is the base price, okay? It ain't getting no cheaper. You can try and get a little bit of a discount. So basically, you've got backblaze.com, all right, which I don't use, but I like those guys. They're smart guys, and they're leaders in the space, and they publish their data, and they'll tell you which drives are the most reliable because they've got hundreds of thousands of drives. Racks and racks and racks and racks of like 60 to 80 drives per 4U, right? Insane. How did they do that? They open sourced their storage platform where you drop the drives in like this, right? And you can't get cheaper. So they open source their storage platform, and other people that have large scale, like Facebook, also have open sourced their compute platforms, right? Where they, instead of having a power supply per a slot, a unit, they run it all DC and then just do one big AC to DC converter external, and it's more efficient. And they, like the servers don't have tops. They're just a bottom. So they have, half the metal on them and such. So those types of optimizations that exist at the enterprise level with vertical integration will always outperform distributed, always. So let me take storage, okay? My hard drive, a piece of shit spinning plate.
You're a hardware
hard drive.
guy, just so everyone knows. Like you have
I'm a hardware guy. Yeah. If you take a hard drive, okay, a normal hard drive that you buy at the store, it uses SATA 3, and SATA 3 can read write like 500 megabytes a second. But it doesn't matter because the platters in the drive can only do maybe 200 megs a second. Yeah. But your house internet can only do 100 megs a second if you have a gigabit connection, okay? If you have a gigabit connection, so if some people have gigabit connection, they can download a gigabit a second, but their upload's only going to be 50 megabit. And 50 megabit is only about 7 megabytes. But the drive can do 200 megabytes. So as soon as you take a consumer drive, which is the cheapest drive you can get, and you try and make a distributed system that works through people's normal internet connections, they're choked to death because you've got 200 megabytes of read-write in the drive, and you've got 7 megabytes of read-write if you fill their internet connection, and then it sucks for any other use because quality of service and routers drop, and routers basically suck at the consumer. Routers suck at every level, but at the consumer level especially. Anytime you try and make a distributed system that competes with an enterprise system on price, you will lose.
Ned said the same thing, more or less. Ned from Steemit and Dan's Fallout, back 6-8 months ago. Ned gave a very similar criticism.
There's one exception to that.
He was trying to build.
Yeah, there's one exception. So Richard's proof that you can't do distributed storage affordably is that the throughput of the drive gets reduced by 7. Well, it gets from 200 down to 7 if you have a sick, amazing internet connection. Oh, and by the way, these things go down all the time. So now I have to store them redundantly. And people turn off their computer sometimes. So now I have to have more redundancy. All that shit is terrible, right? You need 3 times the hard drives now when one enterprise hard drive would have done the fucking job in like a RAID 5 instead of a RAID 10.
Like a red Western Digital just beater, you know what I mean?
Red's consumer shit, but so the black is more their enterprise stuff until you get into SCSI. I'm a hardware fuck. So anyway, the point is there is one exception. Now let's talk about processing, okay? Processing is kind of an exception because you can give a computer a problem and you don't need much bandwidth to give it to it, right? Which is the reason miners can run on X1 PCIe risers instead of X16 because they don't need that much bandwidth. So you can distribute hard computing problems over the internet and have people burn CPU time on them. And a lot of people's CPUs are unused.
Then why didn't you build the CFD token? You talk so much shit about that.
It's so hard. It's just really hard. I mean, I was the choke point.
Explain.
And it was too hard for
actually
me.
say.
I'll get around to it probably, but huh?
Say what the core issue was. What was the hurdle?
Well, so my buddy's software is really cool. However, it needs to interface with so many parts, right? Because people aren't.
I thought that was a good idea. Like, take all these
Still a good
fucking
idea.
miners, take all these miners that are mining Ethereum and all, like you said, all these shit coins, and like actually have them do some like fluid dynamic.
It's still a good idea.
Or something that's at least useful. You know what I mean? That's.
It's still a good idea. So my position on it is, the work that I would have had to do to make CFD work, 80% of that work would allow me to do general computation instead, including CFD, because so then I might as well just bit the bullet and do the whole thing. And then if I'm going to do general computing anyway, well, then I could fork some projects like Golem and Sonam that already have built some of the parts that I can just piggyback. And then if I'm going to do that, and then so it's not really, so it's kind of like scope creep, but your scope is making things easier. Or, so you could have this problem. You could build a completely awesome decentralized computing system that harnesses all this wasted energy from hashing stupid shit. That's cool. And then, in order for that to work, you also have to launch a token which gets a value to make it work. So you have two problems. You have to build the amazing thing, and you have to do all the marketing and adoption stuff to make people use the amazing thing. So what I did was I skipped the build the amazing thing problem, and I just have the token problem now. So if the most successful use case of blockchain things is store value, then a good ERC20 token can do that. Look at EOS. They launched a $4 billion network off of an ERC20 token, and their network's up now. That's a success story for them and for Ethereum, right? Otherwise, your project would have had more problems
you
getting.
Used to hate on Ethereum, and I don't hear.
Yeah, because it still sucks for the things that suck, right? If you give developers maximum rope to hang themselves with, they will hang themselves and they will lose money. But if you use the very, very small attack surface ERC20 thing that has had the shit kicked out of it and been pretty well tested, that's the best you can do, right? Like maybe SHA-256 fails and then Bitcoin fails. Well, it's a risk we're going to have to take. Maybe ERC20 fails. Well, it's a risk we have to take. It's very unlikely. Both of those things are very unlikely. So if you restrict the amount of code you use to the smallest possible stuff, then you just, at some point, you don't have problems anymore, right? Like, you just stop having problems. And no one's having problems with the ERC20. People are still having problems with multi-sig.
It's supported across exchanges.
Yeah.
Like, that was a point that you made. But the thing you have to understand is that, this next generation of dApps, I think, are going to be that inflection point. Mark my words in this interview here tonight, that in the next 2 to 3 years, we are going to see a level of decentralized applications that we've never seen before.
I'm willing to take the opposite bet. I'm going to take the opposite bet. I bet crypto entirely continues to suck on adoption, but the price can pump and the store value use case will still occur, because that shit is the most valuable thing in the ecosystem. Do you really need CryptoKitties on a blockchain because League of Legends wasn't serving you well?
Fuck CryptoKitties.
League of Legends works fine.
It's not about CryptoKitties. It's about real usable applications that people would use every day without having to have some complicated sign-up process, having a fairly easy onboarding process, having
all of those things which you're saying, which are important and true,
could be.
They don't need blockchain.
Right.
Like, I agree with you. Like, all that, if you want to have a successful business, you want to have users, that's what you need, right? But you don't need, you could do that on...
But there are benefits of building on a blockchain. They're having a token.
You can overpay your devs. You can get the world's most expensive devs. That you can do.
You sound like you know from experience.
Yeah, it's, there's a very few upsides to building on a blockchain. If you don't need trustlessness, you really shouldn't use one. Let's finish off your constitution, unless you're out of time.
We can keep moving. No,
let's just finish the constitution, and then I think
rights, no vote buying. There's article, language, dispute resolution, choice of law, amending, publishing, severability, termination of agreement, developer liability, consideration, acceptance, counterparts, and interim constitution.
I don't see anything here too exciting. I don't even see the money thing. Is the money thing even here?
You have to understand
Where's the money thing?
This is an interim constitution. This is a temporary constitution.
What happened to the whole steal the people's money thing? I don't see it in here. Did they get rid of it? Oh, I see it.
No,
Termination of agreement.
yeah, termination of agreement. So really, this is all very new. We're in the first 2 weeks that the chain launched, and I think that over the next 6 months, next year, judge the community based on how quickly the system evolves, how many problems it solves, and what applications are built on it. Talk shit about Ethereum, but it's got thousands of applications built on it. No one's using them.
Let's go on dappradar.com. This will be a
Okay.
funny exercise, guys. Let me tell you exactly how
I've
successful
already seen it. Yeah,
dapps
I've
are.
already seen it. There's 200 people on some of these dApps.
Number one dApp, CryptoKitties, a very shitty video game, which sucks.
Okay, if you're gonna do that, do me a favor real quick.
Go ahead.
Go look
I'm
at
ready.
Blocktivity.
Got it.
Blocktivity.
Yep. Let me guess. Is it a .com? Nope.
You can Google it. I think it's
Yeah.
.info. Yeah,
All right.
.info. What do you see there?
Steam. Steam doesn't even use EOS. I don't get it.
Steam is a
Oh, this
more
is just comparing all the
focused
different
version.
blockchains.
What you need to understand about Steam and about BitShares.
These aren't dApps.
is there are very specific decentralized applications for one specific purpose.
Yeah,
EOS is a generalized platform, you know what I mean, a protocol to
Can you
build
imagine what
other
this would look like if we put Google on here or any other actually used website? Their
It would
throughup.
eat its lunch.
Holy
It
shit.
would eat its lunch. Yeah, I'm
These
not.
numbers would be gigantic.
one is-
These
yeah,
aren't
no one
dApps.
is-
These are just tokens. And half of which the
No.
miners could just spam the network at a discount to inflate these numbers. Like they're not. You can't even trust the numbers really.
You don't consider Steam a dApp, a decentralized
Yeah,
application.
but it's the only one on the fucking list. I mean,
No, BitShares is a dApp, and it's number 3 in terms
Okay.
of transactions under Ethereum.
no, I'm not. I'm
You've got
not. No, you
both
said.
of Dan's. You've got both of Dan's, applications.
sure.
Decentralized
I'm not-
applications as the
I'm
number
not saying his
one, number
projects suck.
three.
I think Steam's the
Now-
only crypto project that got adoption. Truthfully, like
Okay.
Steam is the
All right,
only
so you
crypto
have
project I
you
know
have
that
one
actually got
positive-
adoption.
You have one positive thing to say about his application.
No, I have a lot. Look, you listen. If your guys' security model works and the 21 guys are never evil and it works out, then you have high throughput. Congrats. Like that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. If you want to
And
make
you
that
couldn't
trade off,
see
it's
some
fine.
Benefit. You couldn't see some benefit of Facebook on the blockchain where you own your own keys, you own your own data, and you're
I mean,
not.
sure, but that's not. If that problem gets solved, you solved the cost of user acquisition to lifetime value problem. It wasn't because of the blockchain. Like you solved onboarding with good UIs, or you solved marketing with a good pitch. But that the reason that would work is for those reasons. It's not because you chose a specific backend. The backend to if you have a
I
good
just can't
UI, the
believe
backend's transparent.
For being a technologist, you just sometimes lack imagination. You can't see.
No, it's just everything's already good. We already have really good tools. Like, look what we're doing. Like,
you're the
we're
status
talking over the
quo.
internet in 4K. Like,
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
already works really good. But you made it work less good when you said, hey guys, now, even though you could have gone and got adoption and built something with these tools that are free and easy, now we need you to buy our bullshit token that has a price, which keeps
Yeah,
going
but
up,
they're
ha ha ha.
censorable.
And then
They're censorable by a one central party versus
No, they're not.
21 parties who
No,
can
they're
get
not.
thrown out if they
that's
censor.
not true.
The number
dude.
one rule is you don't censor. Like as
That's
a
not
blockchain
true.
user,
So
you
if you want to go to
miswatch, you
WikiLeaks,
get
can you go to
thrown out.
WikiLeaks? Yes. And what possible website would possibly be more censored? If you want to go to the Pirate Bay, can you go to the Pirate Bay? Always. The Pirate Bay is always up. Well, what is this censorship you're talking about? The shit we have now works good. If you want to use BitTorrent now, works great, right? You don't have to pay for fucking anything. You can download anything you want if you choose to. Everything we have right now works really fucking good. Like the only reason that you could say things don't the only reason you need a blockchain or you could say things aren't working well is if you have people actively attacking you or trying to censor your shit. In the case of currency, they try and steal your money. Or in the case of like blacklisted people like darknets or prostitutes or whatever other things people try and regulate out of existence in some places, they have a good use case for blockchain. But for everything else, like video games and CryptoKitties, you could have built that shit on native React and just made it a freemium app like Clash of Clans, who gets 100 million users a day. Crypto gets like 2 million
Vue
users
or
a day.
Angular or any other framework. I
Yeah,
don't disagree.
and it works
that there are
fine. Like they don't need a.
legitimately
Do you think Clash of Clans needs a blockchain? No, and they produce they do more billing.
I think
They-
that there
like-
are certainly. I think that there are certainly a lot of possibilities and a lot of good that could be done with this technology. It's just that a lot of the the older guard, and you know what I mean, the
Old guard,
my
9 years
eyes.
old, crypto. Like what?
I'm
There's
just
no old
saying, like
guard.
the incumbent, the guys that got the gains, the dudes who got in early, are disconnected from the potential of the innovation, and that's very, very common. I
I'm
talk to
I'm for the innovation. Look, I hope your better Wikipedia works out, your Everpedia thing. I hope that goes great. I'd like to.
It's
I
the
wish.
incentive model that these decentralized applications provide that create these microeconomies and network effects. And,
And
and, and what it
I agree
is
with
that
that.
what
And you
it
can do
is that we have
that with a
never
bank.
seen these
You can do that with a
economic.
bank.
We
That's what
have
PayPal
never.
did. PayPal gave people
No,
$10 to sign up. That's what
no,
Venmo
this
did.
is
They give you
not the
$10 to
same.
sign
That
up.
is the worst
Paying
example.
No, it's
Okay,
not. You're tokenizing and paying people for certain behaviors, and that's
it's.
fine. But you
I'm
don't
just
need a
saying.
blockchain to do it. You can use a blockchain.
Absolutely, absolutely. You need a blockchain to do some of the ideas that are emerging. I don't disagree. The criticisms of a lot of people that 90% of this shit doesn't need a blockchain. A lot of the people in EOS are eager to say that. Like we're the first to say, you're right. That's some shit. Like
If you guys have high
come
throughput,
over to this
then you
side,
could put
Richard.
more
I'm
shit
just
on it,
telling
and
you.
you don't have as much risk. Like, so the upside to your guys' project would be that if you've got really cheap transactions, you could do
No, not cheap transactions.
sneezing.
No transaction fees. You don't understand. For
That's
the
a big
end
deal.
user, there
That's a
are
good
no
pitch.
transaction fees. There's no
Yeah.
barrier.
So let me ask
So
you a
that
question. Why don't I just DDoS your network then? I mean, if there's no
people have
fees.
been trying for a while. Keep going. Let's see if you can take it down.
Don't say
Everybody
that,
wants to take
dude.
it down. Everybody wants to take the chain down. Go ahead.
Dog, don't make
Everybody
me
wants to
start
wrestle.
posting on Biz, dog.
Hey,
Don't.
hey. Just saying, everybody wants to try to test our guys. Like, let's see what you got. You know,
Uh,
I
oh
keep
God.
telling people, like, please, please come over to EOS, check it out, dig into it beyond the cursory layer. You make some good points, Richard. I don't disagree with you. I do disagree that you're missing the potential for innovation.
Free
You're
transactions is a good sales pitch, and you
yeah.
can build a lot of shit on free transactions you can't build on paid transactions. So I'm sure something will work on your system, and maybe hopefully it's just you find something that worked out as well as Steam did, and then
I
congrats.
think it'll
Like I
be
don't have any
better. I
problem
think
with
in the
that. I wish
next
you guys
year or
luck.
two, there will be a killer dApp. There will be something where people go, holy shit, like this is pretty damn good. I could see the use case for
Just
this. And if you
just
want to build
remember,
a very minimal text file that you have to push to the chain,
yeah,
a zero knowledge proof or something very minimal, Ethereum, Bitcoin, that it does it great. You need trustlessness.
yeah.
You don't want to deal with all this, this trade-off, right? But if you want throughput, if you want no transaction fees to engage, and there's a permissioned or a governed blockchain, might be a good way to go. It depends on what
Yeah,
you're trying to do.
sure.
And that's
But
all that it is.
but
It's
remember,
apples and oranges, you know?
no blockchain might be a good way to go too.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it works for
Absolutely.
everything. Like, do you like Netflix? No blockchain. Works really good. PayPal actually works pretty fucking good. You get
There you
your
go.
stuff. If you don't get your stuff, you file a claim. You get your
Other
money
than
back.
they can
Works
just
pretty good.
turn off payment like they did to Wikipedia
Oh, it sucks. It's PayPal
WikiLeaks.
definitely sucks for the person accepting the money, but for the person paying the money, it's pretty legit. I bought some keycaps. Fucker didn't send a keycap that he was supposed to. Got my money back. Tried to play games. Tried to act like he sent it and shit. I had a video of me opening the fucking thing. I'm sure they never watched it, but, like,
How many your stories of getting ripped off are
oh,
legendary?
dude.
I could just tell.
I just recently had a new. I can't. Can I tell this story?
Tell us. You got to open up about it. Come on.
This story is gonna
It's
be
that
so
bad.
stupid.
It's got to be bad.
So I meet this girl and her friends, and we go drink, and then we have an after party, and everything's grand, and we have a lot of fun, and then the next day she had just broke up, and I'm like, all right, whatever, we can hang out. This girl's broke. She's got no money, right? She's like, hey, can you cover the taxi? I'm like, all right, I'll cover the taxi. And then she's like, yo, can I bring my gay friend? I'm like,
Trying to involve you in that or something. There's nothing wrong with gay people.
if you invite a girl on a date and she's like, yo, can I bring my gay friend?
Such a phobe.
If you invite a girl on a date and she wants to bring her gay friend,
Right.
you're not having a date.
You're in the
That's deal.
friend zone, right?
Right. And Richard doesn't do friend zone. But I was fucking bored, and it was like a Tuesday. I'm like, let's see how bad this can get. Because this girl was like, I know she's hurting for money, and I know she gives me like user vibe, and I haven't experienced a good user in a while. So just for fun, I wanted to see how bad it went. She's texting me like, hey, can we drink some good champagne? Because like for this broke girl, like normal champagne wouldn't be good enough. She needs the good stuff, right? And then, you know, he's like, hey, can you cover my taxi home? Hey, can I come out? So like once I saw like, yes, verified 100% user, not great person. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go out and meet, you know, actual cool, good people now. It's like, can I come with you? You know, please. And you're just like, oh God, this is exactly what I expected. So the moral of the story is like, don't, if you give people things to some degree, they dislike you. Because part of them feels like they need to pay you back and then they have to work harder, which sucks. So try not to give people things. And then if you invite people on a date, if they attempt to include anyone else, it means they don't want to be alone with you. Like they don't want to like attempt to be something more with you. You're not enough for them. So in general, as a general rule, you just cancel all dates where other people are trying to get included, is a general rule. But if you're just fucking around and having fun, like you can, like I was just playing around.
You've been having a shit ton of parties. I saw your guys where you've just been like having parties all the fucking time.
Going out every night,
talking about for like 30 minutes. So
yeah, like it's fun, but you start to lose your voice, dude. Like when you're talking over the music all the time, like I'm waking up just with like my voice wrecked. So I need to talk less loud because I'm used to presenting and like really projecting. And when you put me in an environment with loud music, I'll just keep going to the max. And then after so many nights of that, you just run out of steam. And you keep having the same conversation over and over again, which is basically terrible. Like, you know, I don't want to have the same conversation.
Marketing tracks. You came from like the internet marketing world, and you were like about 5-7 years before me, in terms of like the late 90s, early 2000s. And by like 2003, 2004, you were already off like in Neverland, you know what I mean? Like beyond the pub contracts and all that shit. You just moved out of America altogether. And we're just like, later, I'm selling all kinds of shit. Fuck you guys. So, you know, I know the people that did that in that era, and I can only imagine the money that you made and the things that you did. But some of us idiots and chumps stayed and tried to, you know, build here.
Just make a token, dude. Just go build a token. Build a token. That's my advice to everybody. And here's the funny thing, right? People say, oh, Richard, he changed the story. Nah, y'all dudes are just stupid. You don't listen. My like third YouTube video ever. It's like 2.5 hours of Richard just answering questions. Story's the exact same. I'm like, look, why would I just go on YouTube and make you guys smarter for free when I could just build something and make a lot of money? Like how is me making you guys smarter, like adding great things to my life, right? You know,
when you were the interview with Ivan, where you literally almost cried over Bitcoin, like going down to $6,000.
Yeah. Well, here we're here again. God. We're here again.
Well, now you're not phased. Now you're like already building new shit.
No, because like I was the 20K Christmas guy that I called when it was 3K, and I got it, and then
you kept
doom
it and
occurred,
lost it.
And like. And then, you know, I called bottoms, and then the bottom stopped working. And then you just kept finding new bottoms. You're like, Jesus Christ, dude, can we hold a fucking support like anywhere? Can we hold a support, please?
You've got 20,000, 30,000 Bitcoin worth, 20 grand a piece. You think you're on top of the world, and then it literally like 20, 30, 40 million dollars just fucking gone like that. Like that has to be sold.
Did you ever think about what you could do with like so much money? And then you're like, should have done that. You're like, should have bought an island or something. Like that would have been better. Like, yeah.
You literally could have bought an island. Like you were in a position and then it was just gone.
You trying to make me cry again, dude?
No, but I mean, but some of us were maybe not that in that position, but some of us like felt that, you know, that was a very.
That's all right, man. Wait 2 years. Wait 2 years. No. The shit goes up again, you know. And it may not even be 2 years. I mean, we're already 6 months in. So like, could be a year, dude. Could be a year and a half. And some like, I will be happy to have my own token that, you know, I came up with the game theory behind that stores value. That will make me happy.
Trustless interest.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
You know, and then fucking, if that doesn't work, I'll be very surprised. If something designed to appreciate doesn't make people happy, I don't know what else I can give you guys. I mean, you want crypto
I
kitties?
mean, what made you like? What I want to know the most is what made you want to stop innovating? Because CFD was like, okay, shit,
It's
Richard's
just so
like taking
hard.
all of
It's
his
so hard.
12, 15
Yep.
years of toiling with this shit,
It's the same reason
all
I
of his
didn't finish my
hardware
book.
knowledge.
I've got 2/3 or 3/4 of a book done. Just needs edited, basically. I should just throw 50 grand in an editor to like just finish it.
I
Actually, I
haven't done
tried
it.
to do that and the fucker didn't call me back, so now I have to find another editor. Um, like it, you have a personal, you know, you have a personal load limit to how much work you want to do.
I understand.
Chatting with people and debating is fun. Um, Designing
You get a
consensus networks is less fun.
Yeah.
I'd rather be out partying, meeting new people. Uh, I hope to get around to it at some point. Maybe when I'm bored with the partying. Maybe when summer's over.
Because you're doing everything that you talked about in a lot of your early self-help stuff. You're like doing the exact opposite,
Yep.
you know? So it's funny that
Thanks, buddy. Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
right.
saying,
Yeah.
because I think anybody that knows your history, this is the thing. Most of your audience or a large portion of crypto people are millennial or the younger end of Gen Xers. So all this history you talk about, like they don't fucking remember it. They don't remember desktop publishing. They don't remember like the
Yep.
late 90s or early 2000s internet. They were too young. And those of us who are in that age group and the stuff you talk about, those war stories, like we were there. We remember that era. We remember the early PubCon conferences and 8 guys and some of the founders of that industry and the HCI and UX guys and, the search guys were actually really close and all talked. And then they span out into these different disciplines. And you saw like the comp sci and the UX people kind of lumped together. And then you saw the search and the kind of paid people and advertising people lumped together. But there was this like time period where search and information retrieval were very close to like the whole thing.
Yep.
And it just like became commoditized. And good time to when you got out was like the ultimate pump. So it seems like you've been riding.
Been getting lucky on these, eh? I hope I catch the third one right.
Right. And that's why, hey, follow Richard wherever he's at. Like he's probably going to be following.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So, but when you said that story, a lot of us who maybe got in a little later, I started my agency in 2003, didn't really get traction until 2006. I was behind the wave. I wasn't in front of it. What I realized then was how you position at each new technology shift.
You're getting in a bear market now. You're in the perfect time for the next bull run, dude. Like
right, but in general, like when there's a major protocol or major new technology shift, there's usually like the AOL era, and then there's like real adoption. Then there's like some shit that pops off that's like, whoa.
It's called the trough of.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But
disillusionment. It's called the trough of disillusionment. Technically.
So basically, what I'm seeing is that this is another inflection point.
Could be. And hope you're right.
If you're ahead of that wave, it'll carry you along, and you have a good long ride, and you won't have to really kill yourself to swim and stay up with it. If you're behind that wave, you get pulled along, but eventually you get left behind.
I'm literally coughing from talking too much. That's hilarious. Like
I apologize.
It wasn't me. I mean, hey, at least I'm doing it in public now. We're speaking at scale, right? It's better than having the same conversation 100 times. Dude, so I thought this was a good talk. I mean, I learned a little bit about EOS, and I think everyone learned with the cap theorem and your guys' constitution and scalability and oracles and adoption. I think we covered like a lot of really good points that matter to all projects. And, I hope you guys do well with your project. I think that if the 3-party checks and balances of legislative, judicial, and executive works in American governance, it is possible that a 21-party governance system could work.
And think about expediting that to the developing world. You know what I mean? And
no one cares about that shit. No one cares about the developing world. They don't.
It's just that it's not that important or impressive to most Westerners. But when you really think of those use cases, even if you say people don't care, I mean, it's
we have it now. Go on proofofexistence.com and pay to get your hash rolled into the blockchain of your choice, which I believe they use the Bitcoin blockchain. And there you go. If you need proof that a thing existed for your government's whatever, go to proofofexistence.com. There you go. Absolutely. Free advice from Richard. Or download the open source software that will let you put your own crap in a block. Like that stuff's been around forever. I don't, no one actually needs that. They need more money. They don't need more paperwork. They need more cash to buy stuff. They want to come to America and buy land in America. They don't want to
Being-
document their
yeah.
weird land differently. It was a good talk, dude. I'm sweating to death because of these lights in this jacket now. It looks good, but it's hot.
Yeah, I'm in a similar
Chandelier.
place,
I think there's like 36 lights in it or something. Super hot, dude. I need to
Everybody
change the.
pictures you in this big, like, fucking, that you're basically just you're kind of like
castle
Dr.
guy.
Evil. Yeah, you're like,
Like
Dr. Evil somewhere in like
Dracula.
Norway or Oslo or something. You're like up in some
Living.
castle, like,
I need servants. I need more servants. There's been periods of my life when I've had like personal chefs and
are you serious?
yeah. So I got personal chefs to like cook me a healthy diet, and then I ended up eating what they cooked and my normal diet, so it didn't work. Yeah, and then when I was living in the third world, servants are all the rage because you pay literally $280 a month
Until they
for
try
a
to kill
full-time
you.
human. Yeah. Well,
I saw that story.
Yep. That's why the third world is frowned upon by most people. You don't think about it. You're like, why doesn't anyone want to come down here? Oh, oh. Every once in a while, they
Everyone
make an
wants
example of one of the gringos. Now I
Yeah.
understand.
So what part were you in South America when that happened?
I was in Panama. I got fucked up in Panama. Like, lost a lot of money over there. Because the
When
laws
you
just
say a
don't work.
lot, like millions.
Yeah, multiple millions. But like, I'm alive,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that
Can
go
I
down
ask
there
how you
that-
got the fuck out of that situation before? Because you described it like you're basically like they were gonna come try to kill you.
Well,
and you just left before that
the
happened.
guy, like, the original criminal guy was more of a white collar guy, not so much a like gang violence, gangland shooting guy. And
His
he didn't
buddy
want to
was,
really
right?
upgrade his criminal profile. So when him and his homies like threatened me and had a bunch of dudes with guns and threatened me in person, their mission wasn't really to like execute the job. It was just to scare me and get me to fuck off. So I fucked off, right? I'm like, oh, you guys want to play the gunplay thing? I don't want to play that. So I just
Right.
left. But
And
then
they took
he
millions
got
of
robbed.
dollars of your shit.
Right, but then he got robbed by the next level guy who did play the more gunplay shit, right? So the next level guy, became a lawyer while I was in prison. And then he was like, oh, well, he stole some of the stuff that they stole. So they stole my stuff, and then this guy stole the stuff from them. And then my option is like, do I want to dedicate my life to trying to get justice in a place that doesn't offer it? It's not, I mean, if you want justice in a third world country, you basically have to like pay people off pretty much. And I don't like that. So I didn't do it. And therefore I didn't win any. Like, I won cases, but just not enough. Right. So
So why the fuck is everybody from crypto moving out of the States? Like, give us
because they hand out
specific
time like it's
advice.
candy. Like, if I guess, sneeze, you bastard. They hand out time like it's candy. So if you, in America, if you transport a lobster under a certain size, it's a federal crime. And the
what?
federal sentencing guidelines make it so that if you get like 8 counts of genocide and 1 count of littering in a federal park, and you're not guilty on the 8 counts of genocide, but you were guilty for littering, you will do life in prison. Now, I have asked that question as many different ways as you can to defense attorneys, and it is indeed the fact. Like, the federal sentencing guidelines are crazy, right? And then only 3% of cases go to trial because everyone settles because you're playing with your life. They're like, okay, well, you can do like 2 years suspended sentence, or you can go to jail forever. Your choice, I mean, if you want to risk it, it's only going to cost you all of your life
reason
savings.
as an entrepreneur of getting out of America is that you are genuinely afraid of our government.
Well, no, just there's a ton of places with higher quality of life. Like even if you lived in a shoebox and never went outside and never got pulled over and treated like a piece of shit and never were robbed by the normal, criminal citizenry, and, didn't have your friends killing themselves and like all the crazy drama that happens in America more
You're
than other
from
places.
Florida. You sound like you're from Florida.
I'm from Florida, dude. And just go to
I'm from Texas.
floridaman.reddit.com. Like, I've had guns pulled on me. I've pulled guns on people. I've been, jumped. Like, I don't like America with the violence. If you live in a not violent spot, you live in the middle or the Northeast or something, great. You have a different experience. But if you come down to Miami, like, you don't just see the car accidents after they happen. You hear them happening around you. And you know that at some point that's going to be you. So you are going to get run into. You are going to get into a car accident. You're going to get into a fight. Like, bad things happen down there, and they show in the stats. So I believe that you should live in a place that measures well. You know, if you care about your life and you care about living a good life, you should live in a place where everyone's living a good life. And most of the European Union, Canada, Australia, I mean, hell, Argentina might even have less crime than Miami.
How did you get into those countries though with priors or infractions? Because I've heard if you even have one
I've never
ticket,
had priors, dude. I'm clean as fuck.
got some dumb shit, a ticket, anything, they will like not let you.
No,
Not let
I'm
you.
clean as fuck. Like I don't
Good.
have any legal problems at all. I just am from a place where
Have
everyone
two
does.
tickets.
Like if you live in Florida, everyone's got a problem. Like it's insane. Because no, like if you want to get residency
It's
or
just you're talking
citizenship
about
anywhere,
getting,
they have to clear
you're
you.
talking
Like
about
you.
pulling a gun on someone. I assumed you had.
Oh no, some guy was doing credit card fraud when I had my car stereo store, and he was using, like he had partners that he worked with that worked at a restaurant, just taking credit card numbers, and then they would use those numbers to order equipment from my store, and then I would ship that stuff to them by UPS, and then after like a month or two of lag, I got the chargebacks, and since I had never gotten a chargeback before, I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna take your money back. It's not your money." But I had an approval. They're like, yeah, but you didn't get a signature. It was an MOTO, mail order, telephone order. You get no protection. If you actually want to win a chargeback, you need a signature in person. Oh, I didn't know that. So I just lose all that money now. They're like, yeah, fuck you. Like, oh, so I got robbed. Okay. I didn't know that you can't accept a credit card over the phone. This is new. So I called the Secret Service, who handles credit card fraud in the United States. And they sent some guys down, and we tried to do a sting operation where this guy bought a bunch of stuff on stolen cards, and I told him my UPS account was out of money. He had to come pick the stuff up. But this guy, being a good criminal, showed up so late that the Secret Service guys just ran out of time. And they're like, all right, when the guy shows up, like, call the normal police. The guy shows up, right? It's Florida, so I have a sidearm, right? And we have a gate, and we call the cops, and the cops take, like, forever to get there. And this dude didn't park his car like normal. He parked his car in, like, getaway mode. So he knew that there was a chance something could be going down. So, giant purple, older American car, 20-inch gold rims, like very interesting ghetto-mobile. Cops finally show up. This guy jumps in the car to try and get away. He'd already had some of the equipment loaded in his car. You know, I pull my piece and I'm like, get the fuck out of the car. And the cop that showed up is just like looking at me funny. He's like just staring at me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't have a uniform. I'm just a guy with a gun. Like, shouldn't you pull your gun at me? Like, tell me to put my gun down or see what's going on here, or like do something, right? So the guy tries to run me over with the car, but the drive shaft breaks. This story sounds so funny. Like, it sounds unreal, right? But you could just look it up probably. There's probably a report on it. So the guy like floored it, dropped it in gear, but instead of the car accelerating, the drive shaft broke. And then it just laid, since it was a rear-wheel drive car, it just laid there and went ting, to ting, to ting. It was laying there. I'm like, get the fuck out of the car, get the fuck out of the car. So the guy got out of the car and he just ran away. He just ran away. And the cop watched him run away. And I'm like, dude, do you want me to chase the guy? Like, what are you
Sounds like
doing?
Florida.
This dude's robbing, like, he's robbing my store right now, dog. He's running away.
That's a
The
regular.
guy got
Tuesday
away.
night.
The guy literally got away, right? They
Yeah,
towed the
that's like
car.
a regular Tuesday night in Florida.
Dude, Florida sucks so bad. Like, some dude, like 3 or 4 guys just came in and maced my front office and just grabbed what they could and ran away. Like, I tried to
Smash
chase
and
him and
grab.
I couldn't find him. Like,
Smash and
I could
grab.
go through the list. Yeah, like I could go through the list of terrible things that
You
have
had
happened
their
in Florida.
phases of getting fucked over. Like, you had your primer in Florida.
Just
and then
live
you
someplace
stepped it up
nice.
to yeah. So now
Stop living in shitty places. If
have
you
you been
live in
fucked
if you
over?
live in Florida, if you live in South Florida, you are going to get robbed. You are going to have a bad time. And if you live in the third world, you are going to get robbed and you're going to have a bad time.
The underdeveloped.
I don't fuck with that shit anymore, dude. I live in the first world only. Like, I travel in the first world, I vacation in the first world only. If you guys don't speak English, I'm not interested in hanging out. I'm going places where they speak English. It's a much easier life, dude. Like, you don't have to worry about that crime shit. Like, why? Like, how does that benefit my life? I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah, so that's your angle. That's a big part of why you're no longer in the States. You don't invest here.
Well,
you
dude, if my longevity stuff had taken off harder, like if my self-improvement YouTube stuff had taken off harder, then I would consider going to Las Vegas, not Las Vegas, San Francisco. Why do they say Las Vegas? I'm thinking about the battery business and Elon Musk. I'm thinking about the fucking Gigafactory for some reason.
Right.
So they're building the future in San Francisco and that area, right? That's where the batteries are. That's where the drones are. That's where the software is. That's where every new good thing in the world is coming from, pretty much, is Silicon Valley and California. So if you want to be part of the future and you want to build the future, it's really useful to live in that area where you have access to the best funding, the best talent, the same schedule. You know, yes, the income tax there sucks, but like there's a lot of upside to living there. So if I had taken off in those areas, I would live there for sure. I would just endure the suck and be like, all right, there's more gunplay,
It's a total
but
shit show.
we're building the
I
future.
just got back
so.
from there. There's turds in the street, dude. It's everywhere. I mean, there's
I like
just
that shit.
you like that shit?
I know I don't like it. Like I like living, like, you know, go anywhere else. Like you go to the Netherlands and just don't go to Amsterdam. Just go anywhere else.
I'll be in
It's
Oslo
great.
in November. So
Yeah. Oslo's nice. Amsterdam's nice, or not Amsterdam, but like Maastricht is great. Like there's so many nice places in the world where you ain't never gonna hear a gunshot. You're never gonna hear a car doing a burnout. You're never gonna hear a car stereo competition outside your house when you've got your windows open for the nice weather. You're like, there's never a helicopter overhead with its light on looking for somebody, ever, dude. Like, wow. That's amazing. There's people that live in this reality.
Legit grew up in a fucking shit part of Florida, dude.
Dog. Just look at the stats. Like, look up the stats, dude.
Oh my god, dude!
Yeah.
I know exactly. I grew up in East Dallas, like, so I feel you, man. I got a little taste of that myself.
It's all fun and games till, you know,
Till
you
you
the
get
one that got to fight. Like, like, watching fights on the internet's fun. It's less fun to
Until
be
you're
in the
in the
fight.
middle of one, yeah.
Yeah, then you're like, shit, this ain't no good. My hands hurt.
Yeah. No.
Dude, it's been a good chat, man.
yeah,
I hope
dude,
things
for
work
real.
out with your EOS thing. It sounds like
Absolutely.
you guys will do fine. You know.
So if I can get Thomas Cox
Sure.
or a prominent figure to come on and kind of bring some more teeth to this argument and really kind of get into the fine details. I wanted this to just be an admission from someone from the EOS community that, hey, you know, we invite criticism. Like, we're not haters, you know, and on the EOS side of things, like we want the other tokens, the other coins to, you know, the other communities to kind of come in and kick the tires and just be cool. I mean, we're all in crypto. I know it's tribal, but we're all kind of fighting for the same thing.
Yeah, I've
different vantage points. So
everyone should take the same position I have. I have minimally shit talked your project. Minimally. I've been vastly meaner to many other projects. I've been pretty nice to you guys, I think.
Yeah. Compared to IOTA got it in the butt.
Well, yeah.
Dude,
There always has to be a worst, and I still choose them as worst. It's probably worse than just having a PDF. A PDF and an ERC20 is still probably better than that.
in IOTA.
Yep, because you know what? The ERC20 still works. You never have a consensus failure problem with the ERC20.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm sweating to death, dude. It was good talking to you, man.
Absolutely, Richard. God bless. Take it easy.
Talk to you later, bro.